Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you guys don't know me, my name is Melissa Ferguson. I've been a hairstylist for going on, it's been over 13 years now, maybe 14, I don't even know. And I used to be that struggling stylist, overbooking myself, working crazy ass long hours. Got to the point where I resented the industry. I actually went bankrupt. It was like a real hot mess. And then I invested in some coaching, and I hired a very, 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 very expensive mentor, and I've done this twice. Both times I had decent results. They weren't crazy, but they were decent. And then I continued to kind of plug away and find my own system, and I really found something that worked. And a lot of my new balance, my new success has come around using hair extensions and creating my own wholesale line and utilizing that to make an extra inventory source, because 90% of our clients have hair challenges, and they say that, like, I've been to so many hairstylists and nobody has actually been able to solve the problem for me. I had a client actually come in on Friday night, and she was like, yeah, my thinning hair, blah, blah, blah. And I gave her 2 solutions, and it upsold her ticket by $190 to $215, and it literally took me an extra 15 minutes. Okay, now because I have my own wholesale extension line, my profits on that were even higher. So if you are tuning in live, feel free to tell me where you're coming from. Feel free to ask me any questions. This is a live stream. I'm here to support you guys however I can, and I really hope that you can maximize from this. So really, when it comes down to creating high ticket upsells in your business, first and foremost, you have to have a decent money mindset. You have to not be afraid to talk about money, obviously, but using add-on services that are not $12 treatments in the basin, not $20 treatments in the basin. Because I remember, like, I used to do that. I'd be like, oh, I added an extra 20, and those are still great. They are still going to enhance your income 100%. Like, don't not offer those. But don't be afraid to offer higher end services. Give me one sec. 3915. So what I do, and it's super crazy simple, is I sell my clients a row of hair extensions. Not for length, not for any of this, like just like a body wave, just that bulkiness. And it's such an easy upsell, and that price is going to average based on how long their hair is. Let me actually pull my price list here. Oop, dropping tacks on the floor. So depending on the length of their hair and the length of the row that I put in, that brings me in an extra $180 up to $414, depending on the length of the hair. Okay. Now I am buying that hair myself, a whole row, like a whole weft of it, for $103. And I'm selling one row of that for $180. And I can typically get 3 rows out of that extension set. So having my own line here is super, super important to have the stock on hand. And this is where a lot of stylists get stuck. And this is where I really felt like I was stuck, because to invest in having extensions on hand, it's crazy expensive, right? An average weft, like our stylist pricing for a 16-inch weft, for 100 grams, starts at $428, right? So for you to have 2, 3, 4 wefts on hand, that's like $1,500 in stock, right? That's not reasonable. It's not doable. But if you're looking at, wholesaling your own line, and you're looking at that investment being $100, $150, you could have 3, 4, 5 sets on hand, right? And then you just cut these wefts up and you apply them as needed. So having your own extension line is crazy helpful for accessibility, but also for leverage, creating brand authority, having the ability to have that wholesale on hand, for letting your clients just even touch it, like putting the idea into their head. And this client that I did on Friday night, it's funny, within the first 5 minutes she came in, we had booked her in on my new client promo. And my new client promo, it's a pretty good deal. It's $280. It includes a partial highlight, a treatment mask, a shampoo, and a color pop extension. And so she booked in on that, and she was ready to spend the money, and she came in, and I was like, oh, well, like, one of the first things she said to me was like, my hair feels fine. Can you like cut it to give me some more like body or movement, like more layering? And I was like, well, yeah, we can definitely put more layers in it, but like, that's not gonna make your hair thicker. And she's like, oh, and she kind of looked very sad at the moment. I was like, it's gonna give you more movement, but it's not gonna make it look thicker, right? I was like, have you ever tried extensions? And she's like, no. So I grabbed my weft and I just like put it up against her head, and I just like clipped it in with some pins, and I just was like, yeah, so like feel that now. And she's like, and like instantly, because I was able to put it on her head and show her, right? So it was $190 upsell. And she's like, hang on, let me call my husband. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm gonna go mix up while you do that, because I'm still working on the color and I'm still working on trying to like be efficient. But you could tell in that moment, she's like, I'm not asking permission, I'm telling, right? So she goes and she calls her husband, and she comes back, and she's like, yeah, the bank husband said okay. And I was like, well, I mean, we're better to ask for permission or forgiveness than permission, right? And she's like, yeah. So then we continued chatting and did her hair, put the extensions in, and she's like, oh my God, this is crazy. Visually, it didn't do a whole lot for the photo per se. Like, you almost can't tell that they're in there. And that's what you want, right? Like, you don't want to see the extension. But she's like, when I run my hands through it, like, it just feels thicker, right? And that feeling gave her confidence. And then when we curled it and I showed her how well extensions hold curl, she's like, my hair doesn't style that well. And I was like, I know, but because you have these extensions now kind of in the middle, your hair is going to kind of like become one with the extension. She's like, oh my God. And then we continue on, and we're talking about styling or whatever. And she's like, I feel like I just can't get enough like body right here. And I was like, okay, well, have you ever used any type of a root powder? She's like, no, what's that? And I was like, my God, how long have you been getting your hair done? Like, nobody told you about extensions and nobody told you about a root boost. And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, so I sprinkled a little bit in, and I use Schwarzkopf Dust It. And eventually I'm going to build my own line, but that's what we're using now. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like, this is crazy. And I was like, yeah, do you want to take that home too? And she's like, you know what? The husband already said okay to this. I'm not even going to call him. Like, I'm like, she's like, oh, he thinks I'm going to spend $520. What's an extra $30? I was like, right, you better ask permission or forgiveness than permission. So right there, I was able to upsell my ticket, and putting the, I was using butterfly weft extensions. So I switch back and forth between long tape and butterfly weft, depending on like what I have in stock and depending on that person's hair. So with your butterfly, it's so crazy simple. You literally like clip it on their head, and there's these holes, and you literally just use a hook and you pull it through. It literally took maybe 15 minutes, probably not even 15 minutes to get this rope extensions in. And she paid that price, right? So when I'm looking at my profitability versus my cost, it makes 100% sense to have my own wholesale line. So if you are at a point where you're like, I want extensions, but I just don't know where to start, send me a message. I have probably spent close to like $80,000 now testing hair over the years. I had a line 4 or 5 years ago, and it was good. It was decent. I never really made crazy movement with it. Like, we only ever used it in our salon, and we used it for about 6 months. And then I found the quality of the hair started to like deteriorate very quickly. Like, their customer service wasn't as good. They were taking longer to answer, like all that kind of stuff. And I found that this was a cycle that repeated. Every time I went to a new distribution, it's like it started really, really good right away. And then it became not so good. And then it became even worse. And then it became like to the point where I was like, fuck, I need to go find somebody else. And then it would get back into the, okay, now I got to test the quality of the hair. Right? So like, I was recently testing a new vendor, and I'm going to show you guys. I was recently testing a new vendor, and The hair itself is great quality, but they didn't follow instructions. So what I was trying to build was called twin tab butterfly extensions. And I specifically said, I want them to be 2 inches in length and I want them to have 3 holes. Well, this particular vendor made them, it's about 2.5 inches. So like right there, that's not 2 inches. And then they put a bunch of holes in, which like, that's not even like the real problem. But the real problem is like right here, you can see it was literally cut through a hole, which becomes a huge problem because I can't install that. And now I've got an extra, centimeter of like dead space. Yes, I can cut that off, but now I'm wasting money. I'm wasting hair, right? So when it comes down to finding a supplier that's going to listen to your instructions, like that's where it becomes challenging. So what I do now is I work with you to create our own wholesale lines. And I work with you to actually teach you how to do these extensions. Because a lot of stylists, A, don't know how to do extensions, and B, have no idea even how to start the distribution cycle. Like, it's really not crazy expensive to invest in extensions if you have your own line. And the autonomy that comes with owning your own brand is going to do crazy amounts for you as a stylist, because clients are going to see you. They're going to perceive you to be even more of an expert, right? Because how many other stylists in your city have their own brand of extensions? I think where I live, there's one salon here that has their own extension line, right? So the fact that I have that, I look very elite. I look like I am a specialist. I have that illusion, right? Because it's all about perception some days. I had a client reach out to me on Thursday last week. Anyways, we set up a virtual consultation because she's in Fredericton, which is about an hour and a half away. And we booked her in for a $1,800 install. And I don't even actually have her hair on stock yet. I was like, I'm going to custom build this for you. So I took a 50% deposit, went to the factory and got the order. And then we're off to the races. But if I was using another line, I actually probably wouldn't have gotten that sale, because she's like, no, I reached out to you because you own your own extension line. You must know what you're doing. There's, 3 other salons in her city that do extensions, but she was like, but you own your own line. So having that small shift and that small paradigm of perception is going to allow you to stand levels upon the rest of the stylists in your area. The other side of having your own extension line, is you've created a second form of income, okay? And I hate the word passive because it's not passive. I don't care who says it to you. There's no such thing as passive income unless you are like investing in like real estate and just collecting rent. And even then, still not passive because you got to do maintenance on the house, right? I guess the only passive form of income would really just be like investing in stocks, right? Anyways, it's not completely passive, but it's a whole secondary source of income. So on Monday, I was in a group and I had somebody reach out to me and say, well, I'm looking for butterfly wefts. I do not want to take a course to be able to buy them because I'm only going to buy them like once a year. I was like, okay, that's fair. And however you set up your own extension line, your certification process and everything, like that's on you. You choose that. You have your realms. Like I mainly sell actually to consumers. I do have a stylist wholesale program. You can buy my hair at 15% off, but I would rather teach you how to build your own brand because I think you're going to make more money. And I think you're going to have more brand autonomy. Anyways, so she reaches out to me through just like a Facebook voice note call back and forth. We went on for maybe 10 minutes. Okay. She sent me, I sent her a voice note and she was like, oh my God, thank you for sending me a voice note. Now I know you're like a legit human. And I was like, yeah. So we went back and forth 2 or 3 times. And then she asked me for something and I was like, okay, let me just film you a quick little video. And I just showed her the swatches and I was like, okay, so we have this option or this option. Like, what do you want to do? And in maybe a 15-minute call, I sold a $700 of extensions. And the cost for me to bring those extensions in was $129. So I made 700 minus 130. I cannot do math today. $570. in 15 minutes, right? Through a conversation on Facebook. You're missing out on serious money if you do not have your own extension line. Because the other thing, as a stylist, you can only sell locally, right? You can only sell your services locally. I mean, you're going to have the odd client that might like fly in if you're like this crazy expert, but for the most part, your demographic is local. Well, having your own extension line opens you up to the ability to sell Canada-wide. It opens you up to the possibility of, you know, selling to distributors. It opens up the possibility of you having other, you know, big brand companies reach out to you and say, hey, I need your stock. It allows you to build social proof from people not in your local area. Again, making you look like a crazy expert. If you were just giving your money to big brands, they are not going to help you create this reputation and this authority that building your own line is going to create for you. So if you are like, I have no freaking clue where to start, or you don't want to go through suppliers, what I do is I actually work very closely with my factory, and I will help you to wholesale your own line. Okay. You can buy a sample hook ring off of me to make sure that you like the quality of the hair. And then we can actually start to custom build the lines that you want. Like for myself, I have 3 different pieces that I work with. I have my injected tapes, I have my butterfly wefts, and then I have my DIY consumer line. And those are the 3 pieces that I'm building. But maybe you want to build a microbead line, or maybe you want to build a K-tip line, or whatever you want to do, right? We can help you to customize the line to make it make sense for you. Now, I always suggest, and this is just my opinion, building lines that are faster and easier and more convenient to apply, because your time is money. There's this whole fad about K-tips and everything. If you love K-tips, like you do you. I personally hate K-tips. I cannot stand them. They hurt my fingers. I can't stand them. But like, if you want to be really good at K-tips, build your own K-tip brand. If you want to be really good at injected wefts, build your own injected weft line. Find the thing that makes you different, right? Like I love injected tape because it's so fast to apply, and because it is almost like invisible. Like I just recently took mine out, but I had 18 inches of injected weft, and actually I can show you because they're hanging on this hook thing here. Now they're not styled, they've literally just been conditioned and air dried, so they look a little bit gross right now. But injected tape is virtually seamless. Like if you come right up to this root, you don't see the tape. Like, right? It's super discreet. Spaghetti bangs. So like this is a great application system for putting body here, hiding it. Like it's super discreet for your fine girls. I really like that. Now, if somebody is suffering from like extreme hair loss, I do prefer using the butterfly extension. However, the one downfall, and I'll be totally transparent about the butterfly extension, I really like them. However, I don't love them. Okay. There's a time and a place for everything. So with your butterfly weft, when you put them on, now this one is not injected, but when you put them on, I find the corners do kind of pop up a little bit. And I'm working on kind of developing a better system. And I actually think plopping like a tiny little piece of tape or something under will help and make crazy change. But they're not quite as discreet. So they're good for, you know, back, side, but like if you're getting up to like here, on somebody that is very, very fine, there is a little bit of like worrisome room there. But if you do something like that, adding something like a V-Light extension, and that's a whole other service charge, and I recommend memberships in that realm. You can actually camouflage and blend all that. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, do you want to give your money to big brand names? And do you want to deal with the thing that I see all over Facebook? And again, I'm not going to bash any brands, but I see a lot of people going on about certain brands and their quality of going downhill, right? So the thing is with these big brands, as they scale and they reach mass capacity and mass volume, their quality is going to go down purely because the more stuff, the more mistakes are going to happen, right? There is more hands involved. There is maybe more oversight when you get employees involved. You know, employees are not going to care the same way that you care about your brand and about your quality, right? More hands means more mistakes. That's really what it comes down to. But you, as a independent hairstylist and a smaller brand, can ensure that there is like absolute extreme customer service, right? And it's okay to pre-sell. It's okay to start pre-selling. And the best way to get some stock, pre-sell a model call. You know, if you're going to do extensions normally for $1,500, pop it out there for $1,300 on the condition that you're pre-selling and that you're getting social media, and then take that $1,300 and invest it into stock. How much stock could you buy when you are oh, excuse me, when you were buying it at wholesale pricing, right? There's a huge difference what you could buy with $1,300 of your own brand, and a huge difference what you could buy $1,300 in big brand. The big brands are not going to refer you. They're not going to recommend you. They're going to take your money. They're going to give you hair, right? They might offer you some education. If you need the education support too, we can help you. We can set up, like I very much am at the point in my company where I love one-to-one. I love customization. I love working with you. There is marketing programs. There is all this extra support that you're going to get that you're not going to get working with big brands. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that you're going to do is you're going to have your own brand. And personal brands and corporate brands are something that is going to set you up for life. Whether you decide to stop doing extensions in 3 years and you move on to something else, well, it's like, I built this company. I have this. Like, I have my own logo. I have my own branding. Like, you go to a trade show and you have your own products, like, that is going to set you apart from any other hairdresser in the room, right? Like, and we can help you set this up so that you have your own logos on your own extensions. Yeah, so like this particular set is a 24-inch set of extensions. And so that you guys can see what it costs. So 24-inch, this is lower grade hair. This one cost me $171. Had I bought this from any of the big ones, I can tell you it wouldn't have cost $171. Like, it would have cost a lot more. A lot more. So, yeah. If you want to connect, if you want to chat more about this, send me a message. I am here to support you. I am going to be going live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. So make sure you do turn on your notifications so that you get notified when I go live. And if you have questions, like, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to support. I'm here to help you grow. I want you to make more money. I want you to stop giving your money to the big brands because I think you are going to get more out of having your own line. And you don't need to invest in crazy stock. You really don't. We all start small. We all grow. My supplier has helped certain brands reach $20,000, $30,000, and $40,000 a month in just extension sales. And we have programs and we have support. We have all that stuff that we can help you get to this point too. All it takes is your want to build something of your own. Think about it too. If you are a stylist and you're young right now, what's going to happen is your body burns out. Our industry is hard on our body, right? Like, I have shoulder problems because I didn't work smart when I was younger. I have hand problems. I have back problems because I didn't work smarter. And I don't want to be behind that chair 40 hours a week. Do I want to do clients? Yes, I do. I don't want to do it for 40 hours a week. This allows me to work from anywhere. I can work from my phone. I can work in the car. I can work on vacation. And I can do this And I can be more selective about the clients I take because I have a whole other source of income. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I will come back and I will check them later. I do also have a wholesale guideline if you want to build it yourself. You can send me a message. I can get that over to you. And it really just comes down to like you taking the next step, right? And the next steps are not crazy hard. It just comes down to you doing what you say you're going to do and setting yourself up for success. All right, on that note, it is 8:58. We only are live until 9, so I'm just going to putter. But if anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in. And yeah, just remember, like, you're going to save 70 to 80% if you're building your own line versus by the big brand. Hey, Nikki. I'm just about to jump off actually, but if you want to catch the replay, we have partnered with a factory that is helping hairdressers to build their own extension lines. I know you do a lot of extensions. Hey, Jason. So yeah, I know you do a lot of extensions, Nikki. If you want to chat, we can help you to now white label your own brand. I don't know if you've seen any of my packaging or anything yet. It's all Russian, crazy high value hair. And it's not a huge investment to get started either, but you're saving insane amounts between ordering from the big brands and yourself. And just to kind of like recap everything I put in here, like it's a great way to also have that extra source of income. And I know you're an entrepreneur too. So the other day, like I sold the $700 set, took me 3 minutes, and my profit margin on it is like 200%. So you're not trading your time for money when you're working with your own line, and it also gives you the autonomy of being able to carry stock on hand and not have to put out crazy volumes of money, because you can do a quick upsell if you have the stock on hand, right? So on that note, I hope you all have a great day, and I will be back live Tuesday at 8:30 a.m.